think the biggest thing is confidence and knowing you're not alone. And that's why the community side of things has worked.
Welcome to Reclaim Your Voice, the podcast for business owners who are ready to be heard, speak on stages and podcasts, and become genuinely known for what they do. I'm Savannah Madden, confidence and speaking coach for founder-led businesses, and I help you find your voice, own your expertise, and speak in a way that attracts the right clients and opens the right doors. Here we talk about finding your voice, building the confidence to share your message, and doing the real work that gets you recognised by the people you're meant to serve. If you've got something important to say and you want the world to actually hear it, you're in the right place. This is Reclaim Your Voice. Hello and welcome back to Reclaim Your Voice. I am so delighted to be joined by an amazing guest today who is a franchisee of a LullaBaby and the founder of Beyond Birth with Becci. So Becci Jones, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. It's great to have you here. Before we get down to business, I would love for you to introduce yourself to everybody in your own words. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve? Take us maybe back to the beginning of your journey in business and tell us, how did you get here?
So yes, I am Becki. I'm a recently qualified postnatal doula, and I own a LullaBaby franchise in Lincoln and West Lindsey. Currently supporting mums locally, but I'm also in the process of launching an online business to support mums predominantly that are in a relationship but feel like they are doing everything alone, and just trying to support through online and building a community side of things. So my LullaBaby is based around community at the moment and try and help mums to feel more confident and knowledgeable in their fourth trimester.
Amazing. So you're running two businesses at the same time. No mean feat. I'm right here with you. Fellow, doing a great job. Fellow two business owner person right here. It's no mean feat, is it? So can you tell us about how those two businesses sort of run alongside each other, because they're obviously both to do with babies, and has one evolved because of the other business, and how has it happened? Did one come first and then the other? Have you been running them both simultaneously at the same time?
So yes, a LullaBaby came first. I've been doing that for the last 17 months now, and then I decided to take on a doula qualification just to support the mums I was working with better, really. I wanted to understand feeding a lot better, sleep, and just have that knowledge to support mums through what they were going through. My classes are more about supporting the mums and the babies. I want it to be all about everybody, really, not just that baby and the development. So yes, I did the doula qualification to help with the local mums. And then, unfortunately, have recently become a single mum myself. So I need another line of income, I think. And that is where my passion lies. I've tried different businesses, tried to get other businesses off the ground sort of in the meantime, and I just haven't found any passion in it. So the doula stuff is definitely where my passion lies, and they'll go hand in hand with each other as well. So it will allow me to continue doing that local work and keep building that community locally, but also hopefully reach further across the UK as well.
Yeah, amazing, because I'm a mum myself, as you know. That fourth trimester that you're talking about, once the baby is born, is often the moment where we don't get as much support, because you're doing all the preparation, especially if you're a first time parent and you've never had a baby before. You get a lot of support in the lead up, and then sometimes can feel quite lonely in the postpartum phase. So that sounds absolutely brilliant. Can I just ask you, for people that might not know what a doula is, could you explain to us what the role of a doula plays?
So doulas are there really to advocate for the mum and just support and make sure that all their feelings are heard and voiced in a way that's understood, I suppose. And then the mums also understand all the information that's been given to them and giving them the chance. I think, as you say, it's really overwhelming. through pregnancy and postnatal. So it is for mums, to really feel that they're being heard and understood. So there's 2 roles as well. Well, 3 really, through there's prenatal, postnatal, and through the birth as well. However, I will be focusing postnatal. Prenatal, I haven't really had much experience. Obviously, I'm a mum myself, so I have my own personal experiences. But other than that, I haven't got much knowledge. So I like to have everything backed by science. Really, I like to understand what I'm giving out and make sure that I have got the knowledge behind it. And I don't feel like I do with the prenatal stuff. So postnatal is my bag.
Postnatal is your bag. And do you offer any services locally where you are helping and supporting within the home, or is it more about advice and advocating for your clients?
Not currently. I may go ahead and do that. Just at the moment, I do classes 3 days a week, and then my daughter's only 4, so I have 2 days a week with her, and then the time when she goes to school in September, then I might start adding in some one-to-one work then, as hopefully I've got lots of time back on my hands come September.
That's brilliant. And you've obviously referenced it, and I know that you were quite keen to talk about building a business through separation today and about how to reclaim your voice in that setting. So could you share with us, if you feel happy to do so, what that period has actually looked like for you and what made you decide to keep going with building 2 businesses? Obviously, we have got the financial side, but were there any other sort of driving forces for you rather than sort of pressing pause and going, no, I'll just stick to the one business?
So for me, I think I've always wanted to own a business. So my background is that I was an attendance officer in a school, and alongside that, I opened a cake business because I thought when I have children, I want to have time with them and I want to be able to work around school nativities, school pickups, etc. So I did a cake business. However, it was really successful, was really busy. However, bad business model because I was giving away cakes for free all the time, and I'll do your wedding cake, I'll do your birthday cake. And I didn't really make much money from those. And I'm such a perfectionist. I think that they were just taking me more time than they should have done for me to make much money from it, really. Then me and Evie's dad, we built 2 houses together, renovated one as well, whilst also Airbnb another one. So there's always been that side of business, I suppose, and seeing how easy it is to make money from other areas and that flexibility around stuff. So I then moved into working in children's services. Cake business stopped because I was working longer hours, but we did the houses alongside of that. And then Evie came along, and I think we both spoke about, we worked really well together as perhaps business partners. And I'm not saying the relationship at all was only business side. We have had some really happy times. We were together for 12 years. There was a long time in that, but we've always had a project, I suppose. We first looked to move out, then we built the house I currently live in, then we moved on, we got a dog, then we got married, then we built another house, then we had a baby, then I started my business, and it's just been like one thing after another. And then when we didn't really have a focus, I think we struggled to find our way. And also when Evie came along as well, I think it's hard to find your role as parents and understand how that's going to work. So for me, I think I threw myself into the business quite a lot, and maybe use that as an excuse sometimes, as I can't work on the relationship because I'm focusing on this right now. I felt like I lost hope, that we had so many conversations and there was never one big thing that happened. We just seemed to have drifted apart, really. And I think, for me, I found myself, well, either tonight I sit and work on my business, or we get into another debate and it's probably not going to move us any further forward. We're both going to leave the conversation feel worse than we did before. So that really drove my business, I think, to begin with. But it was also really difficult because I didn't feel like I had the support from him. And I think he would say the same. He's never supported my business, never been interested in it, which was also really hard at the time. I won an award last year, and there was quite a lot of comments about everybody saying how kind and caring I am, how welcoming I am to them. And I remember speaking to him one day and saying, like, all these comments, but you just, the one person I've chose to spend my life with sees me completely different to everybody else. And that was just the reality we were living in, really. So we did decide to separate in October, and we're getting on really well now. Evie, my daughter, I think she's got a better version of both of us now. So, yeah, it's worked well. But business side, I feel like sometimes just trying to cope with all the emotions. I feel like I'm still trying to manage his emotions sometimes, manage my own and Evie's. And I sometimes feel like I haven't got that drive in business anymore because there's just too much to focus on. And perhaps, yeah, when I was living in the thick of it, that there was my motivation as well, if that makes sense.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing all of that, Becki, and congratulations on your award. It's absolutely amazing, and I know that you were ranked really highly as well in the top 100 at the Club Hub Awards a few weeks ago as well. So I'm just going to put that in there as
Yes,
well. It's
top
very
7.
exactly. It's absolutely fantastic. So all those people clearly are right, because independent judges are judging these awards, and I'm pretty sure you've entered for some other awards this year as well, so we wish you all the best of luck for those. But being a single parent whilst building something new as well as something that you have been focusing on is obviously no small thing. You have just mentioned about how your focuses were in certain areas, but has there been anything that has surprised you about what you're most capable of in times that are quite difficult or quite trying?
I think keeping my cool and my focus on Evie being the main focus at everything I do is either how does this support Evie or does this meet my goal? So trying not to get into any conflict, trying to just keep everything moving forward, really. Financially, emotionally, everything. Just keep going forward and try not to let anybody see my emotions. So I have recently started opening up on Facebook. My followers are quite engaged with me. The mums, they really like to know what's going on in my life. And I did feel a bit like I was living a lie as well, because in the background, my life looks like it's together. I am guilty of only showing the highlights, but I wasn't ready to show what was happening in my life behind. And whilst I feel like the separation is the best thing for all of us right now, it is still really sad. I've always grown up just wanting to have a family life. And all these mums that I'm dealing with, I'm holding space for them every day while I'm just needing somebody to hold it for me sometimes. And I really tried never to let that show. And recently I have started opening up. I sent an email just to say that this is what's been going on in my life. And I did put a few bits on Instagram as well. And most people have come back saying, wow, I didn't even realize what was going on. But yeah, the support has just blown me away as well. Everybody's been amazing. So yeah, I think just, trying to hold that space and not keep everything to myself, because I have a really great support network, but not let it affect my work and still make sure everything that everybody's getting from me is to a really high standard.
I think that you make such a good point there, that I think 99% of us are guilty of just showing the highlights.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's anything wrong with keeping your personal life private when it absolutely has to be private. And the fact that you now feel more comfortable, and because of that vulnerability and being able to share, you're going to be able to impact so many more people, because I can imagine so many people resonate with lots of the things that you're talking about. Perhaps they've got older children, perhaps they're right in that fourth trimester that you're supporting people with. So I think it's really important that you're doing all that sharing, but protecting your boundaries as well. So it sounds like you've got really good balance there.
It's really surprised me the amount of people that have come forward as well, and that I'm sat there in classes and I try to take as much interest as I can and retain stuff that so-and-so has been on holiday last week, or they were poorly, or their mum's struggling with some issues in hospital, etc. Yeah, I think people don't really share about their relationships as much when they're struggling, and quite a few of my mums that I would have had no idea have come forward, and we've been able to chat about it. So I think it's been a nice relief for them as well.
Yeah, I don't wanna put words in anyone's mouth, but perhaps that's why they're now opening up, because they're like, "Oh, she's gonna understand what I'm going through. She's gonna
Yeah,
understand how I'm feeling." Especially in those early days after you've had a baby, we're all so vulnerable. Our
yeah,
hormones are all over the place. You've got so many more things to be thinking about. You're sleep deprived. Well, I was. I also want to highlight is, Beyond Birth with Becki, like, it's such a personal name, and obviously you're building this personal brand as well by sharing so much of your personal life. So beyond birth, yes, we're talking about the fourth trimester, but do you see even more longevity in that? And what are your goals and aspirations for building this online community?
So, yes, possibly. So, fourth trimester is your first few weeks as a parent. I think probably up to that first year is where I specialize in that attachment bond, brain development. Maybe a little bit beyond that first year, maybe up to 3 years when there is some really significant changes happening within the brain. I don't really know what my vision is. I am really keen and excited to get on with it. It's just finding the time at the moment. So I try to keep really organized. Like everything that can be taken off my mind is taken off my mind. I have organization charts all over my house and food plans and everything to try and do that. But at the moment, I'm putting so much time and energy into making sure Evie's okay in the current situation that my focus hasn't been hugely on that doula side of stuff. But I just want more people to feel that community, because I have a WhatsApp group now locally of 250 mums, and the mums thrive on it, and they come to me for that community and facilitating that community, and it doesn't have to be in person, it can be online as well. So I just want to make that more widely available, I suppose, whilst continuing that local work face to face. So that is my vision, but I don't really know how it looks right now. I think online, I want to do online courses on breastfeeding support is something I'm really passionate about. I breastfed Evie until she was about 8 months. She was a bottle refuser as well, which is actually really common, but nobody ever tells you about that. And really just trying to make the advice and support more readily available for everybody, because you're told that there'll be this support and it isn't there. Nobody realizes until you're in the thick of it quite how difficult that fourth trimester can be. And particularly when you feel like you're doing it alone at home and just feeling unheard, undervalued, unsupported.
And just so vulnerable as well. You are so vulnerable in that first few months when you have your baby. My goodness, I don't know anybody that hasn't had some sort of, or needed some sort of support with their feeding, whether that
Yeah.
is breastfeeding or bottle feeding.
Yeah.
You know, so many people, and I know there's lots of great services out there, but I still don't feel like people are getting educated quite enough or
Yeah.
informed enough about what that might look like once your baby is born.
Yeah.
And of course, if you have multiple children, which I don't know, I'm not in that field, if you like. But once you have multiple children, obviously every child is different. So you might have your first
Absolutely.
baby and have a certain experience, and then your second or your third or your fourth, or however many children you have come, and maybe
Yeah.
perhaps you're expecting the same experience, and you don't get that, and
No.
then that support might not be there. So that is just such amazing work. And I have to say that breastfeeding my son was one of the things I am most proud of in my life, because it is hard. It's so rewarding, isn't it? But it
Yeah.
is hard, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. And I learned a statistic recently that only 5% of women physiologically aren't able to breastfeed their babies. Another up to about 15% if there's medical conditions involved or treatment, etc. But 80% of women believe that they didn't have enough milk supply to feed their babies. And that is just down to the fact that there hasn't been enough support given. And every time they feed, that those signals aren't going to create more milk, but it's not that they weren't able to. And that wasn't a situation for me, but women living with that and feeling like their bodies weren't capable of feeding their babies, when actually it was no fault of their own. It's just the support hasn't been available. And I think that, it could make a huge difference to a lot of mums' journeys if they do feel like they're able to provide for their babies.
Exactly, if that's what they want to do, that's
Yeah,
the journey they want to go on. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I could talk about breastfeeding all day. I find it a very fascinating subject. It's a journey that I did go on myself, but I appreciate that it's not necessarily
No.
for everybody. And what I want to pick up on is something that you said earlier. You're a very entrepreneurial person. You know, you've had multiple businesses. You're obviously very good at project managing. And when I first met you, you told me about the fact that you have the same shopping list and you do the same meals on rotation over quite a long period of time. It's like 12 weeks or something, wasn't it? And I was like, you know, the whole process of taking things away that you have to think about. Honestly, the amount of energy I must consume thinking about what to make for dinner. I don't do it on a daily basis. I do it on a weekly. So I'll be at the end of the week, I'll be like, right, what are we going to eat Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, next week? But I'm like, if I just had a 12-week meal plan, and I have started trying to actually implement this. Anyway, I digress. But you're obviously very creative and business minded. What about being a franchisee to running also an independent business? How have the two sort of helped one another? Obviously, you're very much in the same industry as well, which I imagine helps. But have you been able to take certain attributes from each business to support the other one?
Absolutely. A lot of the stuff, marketing, social media, will be very similar. I think for me, the reason I went for a franchise was because I was worried about all the background stuff, like your terms and conditions, contracts, etc. So I went with a franchise, and then our franchisor has been amazing as well. She's there if you need her, and she just lets you get on with it if not. So it's very much that it is my business as the franchise, and then she's really supportive of the extra stuff on the side as well. So they do go hand in hand, and I think that's where I was struggling before when I was trying to bring in other things that actually I couldn't see how they were going to work together. I think there's a lot I need to get my head around for this new side of the business, like website and things, all that, and the tech of it, because
I can recommend someone very good.
And finances as well. I was listening to a podcast earlier about finance with Taylor, and that is something I'm really not very good at. I never look at my finances. Applying for the awards has been good because it has made me sit and have a look, but I definitely need to work on that.
I think all of us could take a leaf out of Taylor's book, couldn't we? It was an incredible episode. So if you haven't listened to that one, go back and have a listen, because it is full of absolute nuggets of gold.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some of the most common things that tend to crop up with women with their young babies in their 4th trimester that they're really finding difficult, struggling with, really not quite sure how to approach, for example? What are you suggesting to them to help support them with that?
I think the biggest thing is confidence. And knowing you're not alone. And that's why the community side of things has worked well. And that's the same for everything, isn't it? Within business, we join masterminds, etc., because we need a little bit of confidence here and there. And for me, the biggest thing about going to these events and putting myself out of my comfort zone is to build on my confidence. So with the mums I'm working with, they push themselves out of their comfort zone by coming to a class. A lot of them have probably never imagine themselves to sit around a carpet. I never imagined that I would be sat there at the front of a class singing and dancing, whatever. And a lot of mums, think it's probably their worst nightmare to come and sit and do some nursery rhymes around a mat. But actually, the confidence that they get from them classes, they walk in, heads down, not talking, and leave with a group of friends, feeling more confident about their babies, or just hearing that other people feel the same as well. I think a lot of the time we're in our own heads, aren't we? Questioning, am I doing this right? And it's the biggest responsibility we're ever going to have to bring up another human being, isn't it? And everything, for me, I find that everything I do, I'm questioning it. How's that going to affect her? What's that going to look like for her later on in life now that I've said that? And a lot of the mums I'm working with are the same. And it's a different angle as well, because before, when I've worked with parents, I worked as an attendance officer, as I said earlier, and in children's services. Those parents perhaps hadn't had the guidance growing up and didn't know how best to support. But now I'm at the other end where these parents just want the best for their babies.
Amazing. So you've really seen a whole like breadth of scenarios, haven't you, with all the different roles that you've played leading up
Mm,
to this point. It's really interesting, isn't it? And I imagine, just going back to what you were saying about the people that come to your classes who maybe didn't ever imagine themselves sitting on the carpet and doing their nursery
yeah,
rhymes and things like that. I think it's really good for introverted people particularly to push themselves, as you were saying, out of their comfort zone, because your confidence only ever grows when you're doing something. You can't just think
absolutely.
about it. You've got to be there in the do it, doing the do, as they say. And I think from my perspective, I'm completely the opposite end of the spectrum, that I was like, I want to go to every single class. I'm absolutely loving it. You know, we had a packed
Yeah.
schedule when I was on mat leave. My poor son got taken here, there, and
Yeah.
everywhere. But, you know, it was great.
Yeah. And
However,
it's more for you in those early days, isn't it?
this is exactly what I was just going to say, that yes, it's great for the children to be around the songs and the music and the
Yeah.
sounds. It's great for their, you know, early social skills, just being around other children and experiencing those environments. But for the parents, it's so important to get your people, and having a community as well where other parents have children of the same age, I
Yeah.
do think is really important in those early days. As your children grow up, you know, I don't think ages matter as much. But when you're there with somebody whose child was born within a month or so, maybe even
Yeah.
3 months, you're going through all the same stuff, and you can ask for advice and check in and be like, oh, when my son had his 3-month jabs, like he had a fever and you know, or whatever it is that you're going to discuss. And just knowing that someone else is going, oh, yeah, that happened to us too. Or,
Yeah, and
yeah, you
seeing
know,
the difference in the babies as well, that one will crawl at a certain age and then another's so much later on, and gives you the confidence that actually there's nothing wrong with my child because they aren't doing that yet.
yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? So, obviously, this podcast is called Reclaim Your Voice, Becci. So, how do you think that relates to your journey?
So, in many ways, I think for the mums, it's reclaiming yourself after you do lose yourself as a mum. And it's all I ever wanted was to be a mum. Or when I was growing up, that's all I dreamed of, was being a mum. But I really did lose myself, and it takes a long time to re-find yourself. I think I was lucky I had 2 years off with Evie, and it wasn't until she was about 2 that I did feel like, oh, I have really found me now. I understand who I am. But then also there was the issues in my relationship. So again, I still only recently feel like I have found the me and got back to finding me. And I'm able to have that confidence to be myself online and build that personal brand, like you said. And I think it's really hard to build a personal brand if you're trying to be somebody you're not as well. You have to show your true self and not air everything and give away everything, but just be unapologetically you, and people will come to you whether they if they like. Yeah, I think I am in reclaiming my voice at the moment. I'm reclaiming myself, and I feel like I am there the last few months, and I think other people are starting to recognize it as well. But yeah, doing everything I can to try and support that, but not looking too deep into what goes on in your head as well. I think sometimes we can think that there's an issue when it's perhaps just very normal to have those feelings. But yeah, just be yourself.
I feel like so many people will just be so inspired by your story. You know, you tried multiple businesses. Um, some were more successful than others, shall we say, and then you've really, really found your feet with doing the two that sort of support each other really nicely. And the fact that you've done all of that whilst parenting a young child, whilst going through a separation, you know, and you're really trying to inspire. I think it's really inspirational what you're doing, you know, and I think that I'm not even sure you're actually trying to be inspiring. I think you just are because of all the things you're trying to achieve with supporting the people around you. And it's just as a result of the experience that you've had. So, Becci, for you, what does reclaiming your voice look like in terms of business for you right now?
So the mums I want to work with, I really want them to feel heard and seen in their relationships. I really want to talk to those mums that are feeling like I did 3-4 years ago in my relationship, my parenting journey. So I want mums to feel heard, recognised, seen. I'm not saying that the relationship should end like mine. I think it's really important that we do voice how we're feeling and have the confidence to have your voice heard in your relationship and try and work through things together. Of course, something got you there to have a child together. And it's just finding that new way in your relationship and feeling valued, heard and understood by your partner. And also them feeling the same as well. I'm not male hater. Like there is a lot going on for them as well in the 4th trimester. They are finding their position. None of us have been parents before. When it's your first journey, you're all learning how best to support each other, and it can just be really difficult to find your way. So I want to try and help and support with that, as well as mums just really feeling the confidence to be the parent they want to be, have the journey, and I suppose trusting your instincts as well as a mum, which I think can be really poor advice as well, or seem fluffy. Just trust your instincts, but actually, as mums, we really are in touch with our children, and you need to have the confidence to just follow through with that, no matter how anybody else makes you feel. That know that your voice is the strongest thing.
It's so important to hear that, because I think we get so caught up sometimes in all of the information and the advice,
Yeah.
and actually the strongest stuff is already within us, and you've just got to have that self-awareness, haven't you,
Yeah.
and like you say, that confidence to
Yeah.
really tap into it and trust yourself, but can be really difficult to do. So I love how you said, oh, it can be a bit fluffy, but I think
Yeah. And
people are going to really understand what you mean, though.
yeah, absolutely. But with the right knowledge and guidance as well.
Exactly.
A lot of my classes, I do really focus on that knowledge and how it links to brain development. It's not just we
Yeah.
do this and do that and just expect the best for our children, that there is always some science backed behind it. And helping mums to understand how their child is thinking, how their brain's developing and learning. So just
Interesting.
feeling that confidence.
Yeah. And if someone's listening right now and they're in the middle of a really hard season and they're wondering, whether now might be the right time to start growing their business or starting a business, and they are probably not in their 4th trimester, but they might be a little bit further along. But you never know. I had the idea for this coaching business when I was 3 months postpartum. So,
I think we do, yeah.
there are people like that out there. What would you want them to know, or what advice would you give them?
I think, again, having that confidence just to take things forward. Think it gives us a different power when we're a mum. You start to trust your instincts more, be more confident in yourself, even down to stupid little things. I feel like I'm more confident now, and be a bigger person because you are a role model then to your little one. And I think using them as your driving force, that for me, as you said earlier, I'm not trying to be a big influence on people, but I do want to make a difference to people's lives. But I also have that driving factor that I don't want to be back in full-time employment because I want to be there for nativities and things. So parents that are thinking of owning your own business, whilst it's really difficult, the positives really do outweigh the negatives when you've got young children.
I totally agree. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Becci. That has been so brilliant. I feel like we covered way more topics than I was expecting. So very interesting. Thank you for all your lovely pieces of advice, and the fact that lots of the stuff you cover is all backed by science. Really interesting stuff. So if we're not connected to you already, where can we find you? Where are you hanging out? And have you got an offer for us or anything like that you'd like to share?
So I have an Instagram account, Beyond Birth with Becki, which I am just building at the moment, and there will be a freebie going up on there very soon, which is about support for the 4th trimester.
Thank you so much. We'll link it all up in the show notes. And thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Lovely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here and for listening to this episode of Reclaim Your Voice. If today's conversation resonated, head to the show notes where you'll find my free audio gifts. And if this episode helped you in any way, it would mean so much if you shared it, rated or reviewed the show. That support helps these conversations reach the people who really need them. You can also watch the full episode over on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you in the next one.